The NFC East, one of the most controversial divisions in the NFL, one of the most exciting divisions now. It returns back to a prominent division, at least. A lot of questionable win totals, a lot of questionable lines, but it should be an exciting year for this division. Before we dive in, Brendan, how we doing?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you. I feel like we talk every day now, so that's good. I like this division. I'm ready to talk about it a little bit. Let's go.
All right. Well, let's head in to one of the. We talked about a controversial division in the NFC East, but let's talk about a controversial team. The Dallas Cowboys, 9.5 wins, plus 190 to win the division. Can they break into double-digit wins this year, or are they going to let us down yet again? Brendan, do you think they go over or under?
They always let us down. It's interesting. Now, I know we've talked about it a couple times now that Kellen Moore is no longer there. He's no longer their offensive coordinator, so Mike McCarthy's calling the plays now. And you know as well as I know that we both get about rock solid whenever we talk about Kellen Moore. So, I think he, changes the team offensively, and they've been very good with him. But now without him, I have my doubts, and I probably don't give them the benefit of the doubt. But because they won 12 games last year, they made the playoffs. They took a fat turd in the playoffs like they normally do. Tony Pollard is now their RB1. They don't have a lot of weapons on the outside there, but I am a doubter with them, and I had them right at like 9 wins. I think the division is going to be really close across the board, except for the Eagles, in my opinion. But I've got them at 9, so I'm going to go with under.
All right. Well, you know how I feel about them letting go Kellen Moore. I thought really high of him as an offensive coordinator and as a play caller. I think he contributed a lot to Dak Prescott's success. Yep. And my feelings towards Mike McCarthy. And for those who don't, I can't stand the guy. I think he runs an outdated offense. I think that he should not be calling the plays for the Dallas Cowboys. But you know what? What am I? Who am I to say anything? Who am I to judge? I'm sitting here behind a microphone, and he's out there on the sidelines. It's a shame. It's a shame.
They just don't want to take a chance on you. Right, like, who knows? Who knows? I mean,
you're right.
I know that I could get 10 wins with the Cowboys. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, this roster is 10-win worthy. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely. The defense alone, I mean, we saw how well they performed last year. I think they might even be even better than they were last year on the defensive side. But with Mike McCarthy running the team, calling the plays, calling the shots, I just have zero confidence. I mean, Mike McCarthy, to me, right now, is the Jimbo Fisher of the NFL.
Whoa.
He needs to hand the keys over and just game manage. Just let everybody else do their thing. He needs to understand that his play calling is outdated and it will not work. That's why I'm under the Cowboys. With Mike McCarthy, I think they're an 8-win team. Now, if they kept Kellen Moore, if they hired somebody else that knew what they were doing, I would definitely see them breaching double-digit wins, but I don't see it, especially in a division like the NFC East, where everybody now is a respectable team. It's no longer, the laughingstock that it used to be just a few short years ago. The NFC is now a more prominent division in the NFL, and so it's going to be scrappy. I mean, they're kind of going to beat each other up, and so I can't be confident in the Cowboys as one of the teams to break over on their win total. So I'm with you, man. I'm under 9.5. Not a believer in this team. I'm a believer in the roster, but not the coaching. So I'm staying away from them. 8 wins is what I got. I think they let us down again.
Yeah, the last I saw, they were actually only, I believe it was plus 170 to win the division, which is crazy.
Yeah, they're plus 190 right now.
Plus 190, yeah. It's crazy because I think that a certain other team might actually have a chance in there. If you want to talk about that next.
I do too. Let's do it. Let's talk about the G-Men. Daniel Jones signed a $40 million per year contract.
That's crazy.
It's some insane number. I'll leave that to whoever to judge. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I still can be a believer in Daniel Jones without agreeing with his contract. And so I'm going to go there. I think I am going to be a believer in Daniel Jones to take a step forward, not into an elite status quarterback, but maybe better than just a game manager. He can make plays with his feet. Maybe he can enhance his arm a little bit. We've seen, players like Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts do it, but we just have to trust that Brian Daboll is going to be able to mold Daniel Jones into the quarterback that the Giants need him to be. The question is, did they do a good enough job loading this roster up for Daniel Jones? And I think they did. I mean, it's not like they have some catch-all like baller out on the perimeter, but they do have a lot of bodies that are that are really, really good at the wide receiver position. They also have Darren Waller at tight end, and of course Saquon Barkley at running back. So this offense is legit. I have faith in this team, and I think they're going to do really well this year. And 7.5 wins. At first, I was like, man, they're going to clear this so easily, and I still do think they clear 7.5, but they do have a tough schedule. And some of their out of conference play or out of division play is really tough. And the three I'm going to highlight is San Francisco, at Miami, and at Buffalo. All three of those are away games for the G-Men. So that's pretty tough, but I still have them at 8 or 9 wins, even with them losing those 3 games. So if they can even steal one, I am all in on this Giants team, and I love them at plus 800 to win the division. That is insane. Plus 800 to win the division. They have the 3rd best odds. I don't see the discrepancy between the Cowboys and the Giants as much as Vegas does. Something is not right. Either Vegas knows or that's just a mismatch. And I think that you can really get good value in taking the Giants at such long odds at plus 800.
Vegas doesn't know. It's all about what the public puts money on. And the public always puts money on the Cowboys regardless of who they are. But no, I agree with you. And they really put an emphasis on highlighting the wide receiver core and improving that. Now, these aren't big names, but I didn't know this until earlier today, but they drafted Jalen Hyatt in the draft. And they also picked up Paris Campbell and Jamison Crowder, which I think actually is really valuable. It's just like Jamison Crowder, a good veteran slot guy, and then Paris Campbell, who hasn't really proven that he can be great, but it's just an extra body there, and the addition of Darren Waller. That the one thing they're missing on their offensive side is just a decent wide receiver. They've trotted out a bunch of randos, filler players last year, the whole year. And with Barkley, like the run game will be, good to above average. Their offensive line is getting better every year. And dare I say it, I'm on the Daniel Jones to like Daboll coach Josh Allen made Josh Allen who he is. I'm on the Daniel Jones train to ascend to something similar to Josh Allen this year stats wise. So no wide receiver. Doesn't have any superstars. None are going to blow you out of the water, but there's enough people there to get it done. So I'm high on it.
I mean, this will be an interesting test is like, do you need an alpha receiver? A lot of these teams now, like, the winning, I mean, we saw last year, okay? Kansas City. Did they have an alpha? No, they had Juju Smith-Schuster, a hurt Kadarius Toney. Now they do have Travis Kelce, but I mean, he's not like still they can use Darren Waller in a similar manner in which they use Travis Kelce. Not saying he's the same, but it's kind of the same structure that Kansas City had last year. So, we've seen it done before. They don't need any sort of alpha on the perimeter. If they just have a lot of guys that can make plays for him, that's all he needs. So
it's a money ball game. It's just like Moneyball. You gotta have the trenches stacked and a good QB. After that, it's a money ball game. Just gotta fill some spots there. I'll also say that I think you picked Kevon Thibodeau. What was it that you said in the awards?
Defensive Player of the Year. He's like
Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, which is a long shot, but I mean he's an up and coming young guy. They drafted Deonte Banks this year, who but they're trying to improve that side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean they definitely put a lot of stock into it. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I really think that they're on the up and coming. I give them 10 wins. I mean they're going over 7.5. I don't think they'll be able to catch the Eagles, but I give them 10 wins or more.
I mean, I'm excited about this Giants team.
Hmm.
I am looking forward to watching them play. So now you said something about the Eagles. Let's talk about them. Eagles that are 11.5 wins. The only other teams I think are the Bengals and the Chiefs. Now I think the Bengals may have dropped down to 10.5, but it depends on what book you're shopping. But on most mainstream books, it looks like Eagles are 11.5, and very doable. They won a ton of games last year, but man, I do have to say the Eagles have one of the toughest schedules in 2023. And that's, subjectively speaking and objectively speaking. If you look at strength of schedule ratings, they're like number 2 behind the Patriots right now. So, you know, I will say, like, I get it. I know the Eagles are one of the top 3 teams in the NFL right now, and they did just load up in the NFL draft, but I think it's a risky move to take the over. I think you're better off not touching this line at all, or betting the under. Which when I like, if I'm going, forced to do one of these, I'm taking the under because it's a logical thing. I have them at around 10 or 11 wins, and I think it's really tough for this team to face the schedule that they'll end up facing at the end of the year. I think they have a lot of. Now they start the year off pretty easy,
Very
but
easy.
then the last home stretch. Listen to this: Buffalo, San Francisco, at Dallas, at Seattle, Giants, Arizona, at Giants, and excuse me, I missed a Monday night game the week before Thanksgiving in Kansas City.
Mhm.
So that is a 7-8 game stretch that is daunting. So if we're, let's say that, somebody important to that team gets hurt or they're dealing with injuries late in the season, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough for this team to rally and, not drop 2, 3, maybe 4 of those games. And that's not saying anything about the success of their overall season. They can still absolutely lose 3, 4 games and have a good position in the playoffs, potentially win their division, and even move on to the NFC Championship. So it's still very much in the realm of possibility. But 12 wins, we're going to have to be a little more realistic, especially if we're talking about something that we're going to put money on. What do you think?
Yeah, there's not a lot of room for error, and something like they were 14-3 last year. Okay, but there's something to be said about last year's schedule was so easy compared to this year, so easy. And I think they started out the season like really hot, like you were saying. Those 5 games they played: Patriots, Vikings, Bucks, Commanders, Rams. It's 5-0 right there. Then they go to the Jets, host the Dolphins, then Commanders. I think they're going to beat the Cowboys twice. I think maybe they split with the Giants. So if we're talking about 11 wins or less, that's 6 losses. And let's just say they lose to, I don't know, Chiefs, Bills. I don't know. I still think they cleared at 12, personally. But just barely. There's not a lot of room for error, but they have a team that has extreme depth. They are the NFL Georgia Bulldogs on the defensive side. Literally, the first 3 draft picks were Georgia players on the defensive side this year. And they're really deep on the offense and defense, and their defensive and offensive line is very strong. Like, if not, they are top 5 in the NFL, both of those. And I just think with the scheme and the way they're going to run, I think they clear 11.5, but barely.
Yeah, I mean, let's take a minute to talk about this. I see your reasoning behind them breaking 11.5, winning 12, 13 games. I definitely do. But let's look at last year as an example. From week 1 to week 17, going in the list, the Eagles defense faced Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Carson Wentz, Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Mitch Trubisky, Davis Mills, Carson Wentz, and Taylor Heineke, Matt Ryan, Dusty Matt Ryan in his last year at the Colts, Aaron Rodgers, Ryan Tannehill, Daniel Jones, Justin Fields, Dak Prescott again, Jameis, Daniel Jones. I mean,
I understand what you're saying. Like, comparatively to last year,
easy quarterback schedule. And then on the last 7 games, they face Mahomes, Josh Allen, Brock Purdy, maybe Dak, Geno, Daniel Jones, Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones. So the last three, a little easier, but I mean, going Mahomes, Josh Allen, San Fran, Dak Prescott in Dallas, and then Geno in Seattle at the 12th man. Whew, man, it's going to be
But I
tough.
mean, what you're saying, like the back half of the schedule is obviously extremely difficult, like way more difficult than the first half. But I think they go through the first half with no losses or one loss, like truly, either the Jets or literally the Jets or the Dolphins.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
on that back half, they're going to win 3 of those games. They're going to beat the Cardinals. It's at home. The Cardinals suck. They're going to at least split with the Giants, and they're going to beat the Cowboys. So that just is the Chiefs, Bills, and 49ers and the Seahawks. That's 4. So that would make them 13-4. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, and
maybe,
that's
but
if no injuries.
I don't see him winning the game against Dallas in Dallas.
Dude, okay.
I think they drop one.
I don't know.
I think Dallas.
I'm way down on Dallas. Like way down.
I am down on Dallas, but I look at the game last year, and Dallas is one of those teams that will, get up for a random game because of the motivation factor or something, and they could beat this team at home. I mean,
I get you, but with Dallas, I think they're going to struggle to score. And we saw last year that the Eagles definitely didn't have a problem scoring, but they also have an elite defense. And I'd like in that game, like Dallas under, like, I don't know, under 24 points. We'll just give them a little bit more. Like, I still think that the Eagles are going to be able to score at least that.
okay.
This is my rough math here. I'm not a mathmatician.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy with a headband, Yeah. That's all it is. That's all it is.
It's June, and we're trying to forecast the end of December. So, hey, but that's why we love it, man. That's why we love it. It'll be fun. I'm very interested to see the Eagles turn out this year because, for one, you have a lot of the same returning pieces plus the additions that they made in the draft, which were all great. I mean, they came from the team that won the national championship in college, but I'm curious to see what the mix-up and like the additional added quarterbacks faced will do to this Eagles defense and how well they can handle that throughout the year. And of course, if they can stay healthy like they did last year. They did kind of go on a bender, like a lucky stretch of health. There was at one point in like week 15 or 16, and they had 0 people on the injury report, which is unheard of. But maybe that's a testament to the Eagles and the way that they train and the way that they take care of their bodies. You never know.
I got to be honest, in my opinion with that, it's the way they rotate because they're deep at every position. They play 3 running backs. That is true. Like none of them get, like if we're going running back side, none of them get more than like, I don't know, 14 touches a game or something like that. And it's all different. Like they'll pick one to have more.
Right.
And the same on the defensive side. They are so deep. Like with the players they drafted, I'm like, there's no way they play. Based on what they have already, but they're going to because they'll sub them out and they'll take care of themselves that way, which, you can't predict injuries. But I just think they do a good job of managing that, which is why they went through that stretch where no one was injured at all.
That's a good point.
But I hope Zach Thomas is listening because, he'll like me and hate you. So
That's for sure. Yeah. That'll be a switch. He seems to disagree with everything else that you say, but
I know.
Anyway, let's move on to the Commanders. I was really excited about this team coming in just because of kind of a new look, new feel. Sounds like they're going to be starting Sam Howell. Jacoby Brissett is on the short leash with them. Excuse me, I guess Sam Howell's on the short leash with Jacoby Brissett right there in the backup slide. Sam Howell slips up pretty early. I imagine Jacoby will step right in because he's not a horrible quarterback. But I imagine that they're going to try and trot Sam Howell out there first of the year just to see what they can get. I wanted to be high on this team, and I saw the 6.5 win total, and I wanted to be over because it is low. And for a team that has like talent like this, they could clear that, and it's in sight. But I do want to talk about some of their scheduling woes. So
it's a little difficult.
They play Buffalo. They go to Atlanta, who I think will be a good team.
Mm-hmm.
They go, obviously they play the New York, Philly, and Dallas twice each. That's tough. And then their away games at New England, at Seattle, at LA, at New York Jets. And then they have to play San Francisco at home.
Mm-hmm.
That's daunting.
Yeah.
That's tough. And so not only do they have to face the opponents in their own division, but they're out of division, especially on the road. It gives no promise.
No.
So I can't say that I'm confident in saying that the Commanders go over. I'm on team under. I think 5 or 6 wins is the most likely wheelhouse for the Commanders, especially with Sam Howell at quarterback.
You could attribute this to luck or whatever, but I seem to always lose like a 3-game parlay because the Commanders won. Like they won 8 games last year, and their team and coaches staff is better. They have Eric Bieniemy. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Offensive coordinator, who is the Chiefs' offensive coordinator the last couple of years, and I think that's really big. And Jacoby Brissett being a backup quarterback has a lot to say because he has started, I don't know, 20 games the last 3 years or something like that, probably. Maybe less. But he's been a starter on the Colts, the Browns, all that. And he's a very viable quarterback. So if Sam Howell doesn't work out, they'll be okay. But the defense is still pretty solid. I mean, I'd expect them to be better last year. But the fact that they went 8-8 last year, they didn't know what they were doing the whole time, a quarterback with anything. And
because they tied the Giants, didn't they? So it was 8-1. Is that right?
Did they tie? Let me look.
I don't know.
I got it right here. 8-1. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they tied the Giants. That's crazy.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
So I don't like to compare seasons to seasons, but I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm just saying that their team is better this year, and attributed to luck, attributed to whatever, but they seem to win some games they shouldn't. And based off, 6.5 is low. Like, it's low. Like,
yeah.
Last year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 6 teams who didn't clear that, or 7 teams that didn't clear that. And I'm probably wrong, but I think they'll get to 7. I think that's reasonable.
Okay.
Reasonable.
I think if there's a reason why they do get to 7, it's because their defense is fully healthy. Chase Young, there's no more issues with him, no more trauma surrounding that, and their defense, if healthy, can lead them over 6.5 wins. Now, I do look at some other things when I try and evaluate these win totals and how well the season is going to be. And the Commanders, one thing stuck out to me. I was looking at Coach of the Year props, and Riverboat Ron is 3rd to last, 4th to last with longest odds for Coach of the Year. And it's kind of crazy because it's like if the Commanders end up doing well, making the playoffs, he's a top candidate as, Coach of the Year with Sean Payton, Dan Campbell. And so with that, I feel like that's, kind of Vegas implicitly saying, hey, we don't have much faith in the Commanders this year.
Who cares what they say?
I'm just saying.
What do you say, son?
I'm trying to use process of elimination, some, deductive analysis for trying to forecast this team's season. And I just don't really see a lot of faith in this team. And I am trying to have faith in this team, but I can't just because of the scheduling woes, the uncertainty with Sam Howell at quarterback. And I can't be for sure that their defense is going to be 100% healthy or even there. So
I agree with that. But Sam Howell is a gunslinger. So what if
he runs the ball a lot?
He runs the ball. What if Eric Bieniemy comes in here and puts a little pep in his step?
That's true. Being the new offensive coordinator is kind of the X factor here. He could elevate this team well above 7 wins. He can also not. It could stink, but
he could.
It's just a matter of what you believe in. What you believe in is the most important. So I believe in under 6.5 wins. BJ believes in over 6.5 wins. Somebody's got to be right. And at the end of the day, we're all happy. Brendan,
Someone's got to be right. You got to be wrong. Same thing. Mm-hmm.
Who is crowned division champion of the NFC East? Give it to me right now.
The Eagles, but I really like the Giants at plus 800. I think that's extreme value. Truly.
Nice. I do too. I love the Giants at 800. I'm going to lock that in before it drops. And so I think this team matches relatively well with the Cowboys. I think, they're better offensively right now.
They're so much better than the Cowboys.
In terms of the play calling, and maybe not necessarily the athletes, but the play calling and the system that they're in, I'm giving the Giants the nod over the Cowboys. Their defense is not as good as the Giants, but it's an offensive league now. Love the value at plus 800. I'm going with the underdog Giants. I think they win this year. I think they shock the world.
That would be awesome.
I'm a believer in this team. I think they take the next step. I'm a huge believer in Daboll. I think they're doing everything right there. So taking the Giants to win, it's what we love to see. Let's go, G-Men.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm going to find some random prop bet or whatever for the Cowboys to finish last.
I'm serious. It's possible. It's got to be out there somewhere.
Like, they have an exact outcomes of like the division. I'm going to go like Eagles, Giants, Commanders, Cowboys for I don't know how much it'll be, but
right.
But that's what I got. But I'm still taking the Eagles. I think the team is too strong.
Yeah,
on both sides.
It is hard to bet against them considering that they only got better than the team that they were last year, and they were the Super Bowl runner-up. So very reasonable, very logical. I'm just stepping out on a limb here. Brendan, appreciate you showing up today. Guys, thanks for listening. We'll be here next week. Talk to you guys later.